So we are starting a different series for the next several weeks. I'm calling it The Path to Soulful Living. One of the things that is so important to me, no matter how long I've been in this work and on this path, is to be diligent in continuing to grow, in continuing to learn, to be willing to look at places where maybe I am falling short, to look at places where I can make improvements, and to continue to be open-minded and open-hearted to what is left to express and to understand. And to me, that kind of approach, that kind of willingness is what leads us into this path of soulful living that allows us to keep growing, to keep evolving, to build upon all that we have already learned and to take it further and deeper and wider. And so for the next couple of weeks or number of weeks, we're going to be taking a look at a variety of different topics. We're going to look at the idea of being broken open when life causes us to feel a broken heart or shattered because of circumstances or situations. How is that a path for our soul to move forward and to grow? We'll take a look at topics like gratitude and grace. These are not new ideas to us in Unity, and yet there's always a way we can take all of these ideas deeper and further. We'll be looking at the idea of purposeful living, and I think it's an idea that we want to revisit every once in a while, no matter how old we are, and no matter whether we've already kind of done that work before, to keep checking in with ourselves. Are we on the path and the track that is really important to us now, and how do we live with greater purpose in mind? And we'll look at love and connection and belonging, all of these very much spiritual topics and ways to mature spiritually and to nurture the soul. Today, as you might have guessed from the song you just heard, we're going to be taking a look at forgiveness. And I've titled the talk, Forgiveness, the Force Quit Button for Your Soul. How many of you are familiar with the force quit button on your computer, right? I am too. It's kind of like that last resort when you get that spinning wheel, something's not quite working on your computer or whatever apps you've got going, and you've got that spinning wheel or that spinning spiral, and you're left with the choice of force quit. You gotta go find the app that's running, that's stuck, and you say force quit because it's not doing it on its own. Well, to me, forgiveness is like that. Forgiveness is the force quit button for our soul. It's the way that we can stop that cycle of pain and hurt and move forward instead of staying stuck in that ever-looping spiral of pain and hurt. We recognize the importance of forgiveness, do we not? I don't think there's anyone in the room or online that would say that forgiveness is a bad thing. I think we all recognize that the quality or the practice of forgiving, whether it's forgiving oneself for mistakes that we have made, things we've done or didn't do that we wish we had, or for hurts that we have borne at the hand of another. We recognize the importance of forgiveness, but it doesn't mean that it's an easy thing to do. And it requires, depending upon the severity of the thing we're trying to forgive, it requires some really deep work. Even the disciples, according to the Gospels, even the disciples struggled with forgiveness. Peter approached Jesus and asked him, if my brother sins against me, how many times do I have to forgive him? Can you put yourself in Peter's place? If this person has hurt me this many times, how many times do I have to forgive him? And of course, Jesus, growing up in the Jewish teaching and tradition, knew that according to Mosaic law, there was a certain number of times to forgive, and yet he said, you need to forgive 70 times 7, not just 7 times 7, but 70 times 7. And I am positive that he did not mean that at the 491st time you were free, you didn't have to do it anymore. If you know anything about the Bible and that you can't just read it from cover to cover like you can read other books, there's a whole way of being able to approach the Bible, including understanding language and culture and idiomatic expressions and the different audiences that different books were written to and the different times that different books were written and what got voted into the Bible and what didn't get voted into the Bible. Are you with me? So it's why you can't just take it like you would pick up any other book and read it. And it's also why you can't take it literally. And yet, when Jesus was talking about you forgive 70 times 7, he wasn't literally, I don't believe he was literally saying, do it 490 times and then you don't have to do it anymore. 70 times 7 meant until it's complete. The understanding of the significance of numbers and the symbology that they represented was important in Jesus' time. And so he was saying, you forgive until it's complete. Well, how do you know it's complete? If you've ever truly forgiven someone or yourself for something, you know it's complete because you're not reliving the pain anymore. You know it's complete because you can think about the person or the event with a sense of neutrality toward it. It doesn't pull you down. It isn't heavy. It doesn't hurt the way it once hurt. You're not stuck in that endless loop of thinking about it and grimacing over it. You're able to look at it, remember it almost as if a third person. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And so to really deepen in our practice, I think it's important for us to realize that forgiveness is not just a virtue, it's a fundamental spiritual practice that clears the path for us. A fundamental spiritual practice that clears the path for us. It removes the emotional debris, the emotional hurt and pain that blocks us from both being able to experience love and joy and to give love and joy. It allows us to be much more open. Forgiveness keeps those apps in the background from running rampant and depleting us of energy and our creativity. Forgiveness blocks us. Forgiveness blocks us. There is a lot in the body and a lot in the field of medicine that speaks to this idea that so much of disease is linked to some form of blockage. And I think that's true of us as well as spiritual beings, that the wounds that we experience or inflict, the bitterness, the resentments, the grudges that we hold, even if it's understandable why we feel that way, the fact that we can understand why we feel that way or that we might even feel justified in feeling that way does not change the fact that it is a blockage in the divine energy and flow throughout our being. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's so important that we have a clear understanding of what forgiveness is and what it is not. Forgiveness is not about condoning anything that happened. It's not about saying that things that are wrong are somehow right. It's not. It is, though, the refusal to keep paying again and again and again for that wrong that was done. It doesn't mean condoning. It doesn't even necessarily mean forgetting. You know that expression, forgive and forget? I'm not sure that that's always very possible. There are things that are so painful and so terrible that have been done to us or to others that you'd almost have to have complete amnesia to be able to forget it. But I think what is true is that we are meant to free ourselves of the anguish and the pain of reliving that again and again and again. We never want to forget the lesson that's learned. That's the important part. We want to hold that lesson, whether it is that we recognize we had behaved or done something very wrong to another person or an organization or an institution. We make amends and we learn from that, and we make a commitment to ourselves, we're not going to do that again. Or whether it is to have been on the receiving end of some horrible thing, that we take the learning from that. We take the cultivation of the growth that we experience as we've had to work through the hurt and the pain of it, and know that we have emerged stronger as a result of the hard work that we had to do. Unforgiveness keeps us operating at a much lower vibratory rate. We know in our spiritual teaching the importance of energy, the importance of the mind, the importance of what we hold in consciousness takes form and shape in the outer. And it's one of the reasons we have the practices that we do, forgiveness being one of them, to keep us vibrating at a higher level, a lighter level, a brighter level. Because when we do, we attract more of that back into our lives. We believe that we are conscious beings co-creating our life experience. And when we have unforgiveness blocking us, cluttering our spiritual arteries, if you will, we're not going to be operating and vibrating at the higher level that we can. In one of her books, I don't remember which one now, I always stumble over her name, Iyanla Vanzant writes about the messiness of forgiving. And I appreciate her using that phrase, the messiness of forgiving. She writes, you can bandage the bleeding with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex. But eventually it will ooze through and stain your life. You must find the strength to open the wound, stick your hands inside, pull out the core of the pain that is holding you in the past, the memories, and make peace with them. Make peace with them. I am so grateful that unity is a teaching that continues to grow and evolve and mature. And in my many, many years now, as a student and teacher of unity, I've seen firsthand some of the maturing and the evolving of our teaching. I remember a period of time where we thought that to acknowledge anything negative, anything wrong, anything dark as being negative and being what you needed to avoid. And what I think we have more toward to now is a much higher level of understanding that in order to heal, we have to first be able to name. We have to first be able to call a spade a spade. We have to be able to say, this is what happened. This is how I felt. This is what's going on. To name the pain, to, as Iyanla said, to kind of put your hands into that wound, that messiness, to touch it, to name it, to see it, to feel it, not to wallow in it, not to stay stuck in it, but not to cover it over with a pretty prayer and affirmation. Not to cover it over with a pretty prayer and affirmation. The prayer and affirmation should first be, let me see it as it is. Let me understand it. Let me not be afraid to feel the feeling, the legitimate feeling I have in response to this memory or this thing that happened to me, or to this thing that I did. Let me feel the shame, or let me feel the remorse, or let me feel the anger, let me feel the hurt. Because if I can feel it and name it and touch it, then I am able to move beyond it. I'm not held hostage by it. Gary Zukov writes about it this way. He says that forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be different. Giving up the hope that the past could be different. It means accepting that in the vast tapestry of life, everything served a purpose to bring you to this moment. Oh man, that can be tough, isn't it? You know, as I have ministered in this community for as long as I have, I've heard all different kinds of life stories from so many of you, of some of the very real hurts and wounds and traumas and betrayals that some of you have experienced, and heard some of your confessions, if you will, of things that you have shared with me that you have done. And being able to have a safe place to speak to that, and then being able to recognize that even those things that were done to us or that we have done have brought us to this place where we are right now. They have molded and shaped us in a certain way. And our job is to eke out the greatest learning, the greatest lesson that we possibly can. And it is in that understanding that we're able to say there is good in everything that has happened. It doesn't mean that everything that has happened is good. Do you get the subtle difference there? But it does mean that in everything we can find a seed of good. We say that there is one presence and one power in the universe, that presence and power is God, that presence and power is good. It is our first principle in unity, one presence, one power. And so that means even in the midst of the most horrible thing we may have done or have had done to us, that there is still the presence of Spirit in the midst of that, even in that. And that's what we hold on to. And that's what helps pull us up and out, through and beyond whatever the situation is that was so hurtful. On the other side of forgiveness is freedom. Take that in for a moment. On the other side of forgiveness is freedom. The other side of forgiveness is freedom. It is a releasing and letting go of the deepest kind, really. Freedom, it's like finally putting down a heavy sack we've been holding. Or finally, like a snake that sheds its skin because it's growing and evolving, it's like we finally release that. One of the things I have come to hold to be absolutely true in my own journey of forgiveness and things in my family that had been extremely, extremely painful, is that forgiveness is not like a light switch. It's not like you say, okay, I'm going to forgive, and you flip the light on or you flip the light off and it's done. It's very much like a dimmer switch. It's a gradual, if it's a serious thing, it's a gradual diminishment of the pain, slowing down of the rehearsing or rehashing the situation again and again, or wishing that it had been different, or wishing that they had done this, or she had done that, or you hadn't done the other. It's a gradual process. And I've said many times, if it's a really serious thing, sometimes if the starting point is, God, help me want to forgive. Does that make sense? Right? Because sometimes it can be such a serious thing. Help me want to forgive. That's in a way honoring where we might be in the face of whatever has happened to us, a betrayal of a friend, a cheating of a partner, sexual abuse, any of the really kinds of big things that are just gut-wrenching. Sometimes the very first step in the process is, Spirit, God, help me want to forgive. Help me want to forgive. Help me want to move beyond this. Not to free the other person, but to free whom? You're really quiet. It's to free ourselves. On the other side of forgiveness is freedom. Some of you may be familiar with the spiritual teacher Adyashanti. He writes of this idea of forgiveness as a critical law of energy. He says, everything you blame, you're stuck with. Think about that for a moment. Everything you blame, you're stuck with. The very thing we don't want to have anything to do with. Everything you blame, you're stuck with. Bless it. Wish it well. Wish it its own freedom. And it will be very powerful in the way that it will not come back to you. If you don't forgive it, if you don't bless it, if you don't wish it well, the energy will just be magnetically drawn back to you because it's looking for resolution. That's powerful to me because it's looking for resolution. All negative energy that we've inherited, it's there because it's looking for resolution. What you bless, you release. What you condemn, you possess. The very thing that we're wanting to be free from. He talks about blame being like this boomerang, that it's just the energy that comes back to us. Comes back to us. Also, on the other side of forgiveness is self-love and self-care. That's really, I think, some of the beautiful message in that Karen Taylor Good song that Nicole sang so beautifully. I forgive you, you've done the best you could. I forgive you, I release you from the shoulds. I accept you as that perfect child of God you're meant to be. I forgive you, me. I wonder why it's easier forgiving someone else, mothers, fathers, children, anybody but myself. Can I learn to love myself completely? The good, the bad, the cool, the geeky? Well, the pieces won't be falling into place till I can look with love upon this space. The gift of forgiveness, we could say, is an ultimate act of self-love. It's in essence saying, I now care more about my soul and my heart's well-being, that I'm going to release the need for you to do anything different anymore. What happened, happened, and I'm going to free myself to care for myself and to not keep reliving that pain again and again and again. I want to give you, we have a little bit of time here, a chance to practice. And so it's one thing to talk about forgiveness. It's another thing to try to touch it and feel it, even if it's just for a flash, even if it's just for a moment. And so I'd like to invite you just to close your eyes for a moment. This isn't going to take very long. And as you close your eyes, I want you to think about a person or a situation that you've been struggling with that's hard for you to release and is hard for you to forgive. Maybe somebody said something that was really mean or said something about you that simply isn't true, and you feel anger toward that person and you just haven't been able to force quit the cycle of stuff going on in your mind. And as you think about that thing, instead of thinking for a moment, I'd like to ask you just to check in with your body. Where do you feel that in your body? Where is it living in your body? It could be a tightness in your chest. It could be a frown. It could be tight, crossed arms. It could be a clenched jaw, a knot in your stomach. Just notice, don't have to judge it, just notice where you feel it. Wherever you feel it, that's the physical footprint of that event, of that situation, of where and how it's living in you. And now shift from blame to the breath. And stop looking at that event or that person or that situation. And look at the pain instead. Look at the pain. Look at what you've been feeling as a result of that. Not just where it was in your body, but what was the feeling. And take a deep, long, slow breath right now. Deep, long, slow. And blow that breath into that place. And again, a deep, long, slow breath. Blow that breath into that place. And one more time. Deep, slow breath. Into that place. Choosing to have met the pain rather than avoid it. And now, remembering those wise words from Adyashanti, bless it. Imagine yourself saying to it, I see you. I'm no longer going to hold you hostage in my body. I'm no longer going to be hostage to you. I bless you. I set you free. I bless you. I set you free. And so it is. And amen. Our journey, our practice in unity is a very active practice, really. It's not just a matter of coming to a place like this or tuning in on a Sunday morning or reading a book. It's really trying to take these ideas and have them live in our very body and in the way we actually engage with our life experience. You know, we have our prayer partners that are trained in Unity's approach to affirmative prayer that are always available to you on any Sunday, and we have Silent Unity, which is available to you 24 hours every day of the year. That if you are struggling with anything that you have done or has been done to you that you know is just an app running in the background of your life, zapping you of energy and life and joy and creativity, there are resources that you can turn to and don't have to walk that journey all on your own to be able to really release and be able to forgive. And so I hope that you'll take advantage of those, because your life and your well-being, the well-being of your soul, is important, and you deserve to be able to be free and be on the other side of what unforgiveness does inside of us. Namaste.